All right, welcome back. In the previous video, we set up some more functions for talking to our GPIO pins with the set pull up and such, and we created some functions to translate. I finished some of this off with the toString for each one of these different ones, and I added a GPIO state, which I don't think I've done. I haven't done a toString for that yet for GPIO state on or off. And I created a read and write function down here, and I've implemented those. I'll show you those. I also started getting into the pulse width modulation stuff. We're going to do that later though, so I decided to skip that. And I'll show you those functions really quick, and then we're going to get into working on something a little bit different here with this, and I'll show you how we're going to code that. But here's the functions, just like the others. Set pull up, then there's read. We'll return a translate state GPIO read pin, so we'll get the GPIO state back, which is just on or off in that state. And write, we'll write the GPIO state. Again, we translate the state to what it wants to see, and call GPIO write. Then we've got a couple of PWM pulse width modulation functions here, and I'll talk about that. That gets a little more involved. You can set the duty cycle. You can set the frequency and various other things. So we'll get into PWM very soon, and even stuff for servo control, pulses, and things like that, which this library does support as well as many other things that it supports. What I want to do right now, though, is work on setting up callbacks for when a GPIO pin changes state. And we want to be able to have multiple things subscribe to this and subscribe to specific pins in a certain way. So what we're going to need for that, first of all, is two standard library files. We're going to need to include map, which is what we're going to use to store our subscriptions, and we're going to need this functional because we're going to use lambda functions to set up the subscription. So the function that we're going to use for this is this GPIO set alert function, EX or just set alert function. This one here lets you specify some arbitrary user data as a pointer, and I don't know that we need to do that, so I think we'll just use this one for now. We might create something later that'll use the other one. It'll be easy to change it over. So this, however, only allows you to subscribe one particular function to that. And so we need to subscribe to a particular pin to a function in our system, which will be able to send to everybody who subscribes to that particular pin. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to set up this function first. We're going to create this function that we're going to subscribe to. Then we're going to set up a subscription service that lets you connect to a pin. It'll save your thing and subscribe to the thing if needed, and so forth. So we're going to need a couple of things here. Oh yeah, and we're going to use map. We're also going to use a vector. Pound include. Oops. We're going to need vector as well. All right. So what we're going to need, first of all, is a standard vector of, we're going to call this unsigned int, and we're going to call this sub pins. So these are the pins that are actually currently subscribed to, so that we just maintain a list of those. And then we're going to go standard map, and the map is going to be of an unsigned int, which will be the pin, and it's going to be a standard : function that's going to be void int and Gpio state. And we're going to call this subscriptions. Oops. Let's make it subscriptions. Okay. So what does that mean? So that means we've got a map that's going to be for each pin. There's going to be a function assigned to it, except I made a mistake here. It's going to be a function, all right. It's going to be a vector of functions, which is also why we needed the vector. It's going to be a vector of those, which is all the subscribers to a particular pin. Okay, and then pins that we've already subscribed to. So the reason for the pins we've already subscribed to is, well, we could look it up in here. Actually, that's right. We don't even need this. We'll just look it up in the map and make sure that we're not doubly subscribing to the same pin. And so that's what we need to store the functions that are passed in for a particular pin. Based on the pin, there will be a list for every pin that's subscribed to. There will be a list of subscribers. Okay, so now we need a couple of functions. So we need a function. Let's take a look here. Double check this signature of this function. This Gpio alert function T is this type def. Well, we need to understand this, so I'm going to copy that. I'll go back to my thing here and keep this up as a reference so I can see it. I'm just going to put a comment here and put this type def in here so we can see what it is. So it's going to take a pin, a level, and a tick. This is the actual callback function that gets called. And so we want to create that. It's going to be void. We'll call it underscore callback. Int Gpio int level and u int 32t tick. So that's our callback function, and then we need a void subscribe, and it'll be int pin, and then we're going to pass in a function, a lambda, probably a lambda. So we're going to use standard function void. It's going to take what did we do up here? An int and a Gpio state. So it's just going to verify that it's a pin. Your pin int, and then Gpio state, which is the actual state that came back. That's our function, and we'll just call it func. So that's what's going to call this. And we can just do actually both of these right here as inlines. No, we can't, because we've got to call, this one we can, but this one we can't because we've got to deal with, or do we? We don't have to deal with anything here. This one we can. So I'm confusing myself. This one we can't. This one has to deal with Pigpio and call a Pigpio method to subscribe this. This one here we can do right now. We can do this. We can go, first of all, we want to find the pin among the subscribers. So we want to look to see, we want to find this one. Okay, so what we can do is go underscore subscriptions dot or sub GPIO auto subs equals implicit conversion changes signed as int to unsigned int. So this is an int. So actually, this needs to just be an int. Yeah, I know it's unused parameter level. So now subs should be a vector of that. So let me do a quick lookup here, because I don't use standard map all that often, and sometimes I forget. So we should be able to go let me look something else up here real quick. Oh, okay. So what we want to really do here is this. So I won't do that yet. So what we're going to do is go if underscore subscriptions dot find GPIO sometimes I wish equals underscore subscriptions dot end. Okay, that means the key wasn't found. So does not equal dot end. This means it was found. And so we don't want to, if it wasn't there, we don't want to do anything. So now we can just go for auto sub colon subscriptions colon find GPIO subscriptions dot find GPIO. That should auto sub colon subscriptions dot find There we go. Yeah, that gets us the vector, and so now this should be an element of the vector, which should be these functions, and it is. And so what we can do now is just go sub, and we're going to pass it the GPIO, comma, translate state level. So what's going to happen now is whenever this callback, oh, you know what, we should send the tick. So we should modify this state, comma, uint32t onto that. And so then this should become, comma, tick. There. So now we're going to, when you subscribe to this, when anybody subscribes to this, we're going to save their subscription in our list, and we're going to subscribe this method to that pin. And we're also going to first check to see if it's subscribed yet or not. If it's already subscribed, then we will get that and add them to that list. So this, when the callback happens, when the pin changes state, this will get called. This will check to see if the subscriptions exist. If they don't, it'll just leave, no problem. There's no subscription to it, which really shouldn't happen, because if this is subscribed, something should be subscribed to it. But you never know. So this is just a good check to make sure, so we don't cause any errors. But if there is a list of subscriptions there, it'll go through every one of those subscriptions and call it with this translation. So now we have to do the subscribe method in the CPP file. So let's go copy this and go to the CPP file. And we'll, where should we put this? It's kind of a high level thing. Let's put it up here at the top. So we have to subscribe to this pin. So the first thing we want to do is check to see if the pin itself is already subscribed to. If it is, we don't have to call. So what we can do is go the same things we did before. If underscore subs sub if underscore, oh, well, first of all, we got to join our class with this. If underscore subscriptions dot find pin equals underscore subscriptions dot end. Okay. Then what we're going to do, well, if it's there, okay, so if it's not there, then what we're going to do is subscribe. If it is there, this is what we'll do down here. Oops. All right, so let's do this part first. We need to, let's go back to my thing here. Okay, we need to call Gpio set alert function. So we'll just do auto air equals Gpio set alert function. It's going to be for the particular pin, and then we're going to have to call that alert function, which is going to be ampersand Gpio : underscore callback. Okay. Does it have to be unsigned? Well, what doesn't like? Int uint32 void int uint32. All right, let me pause the video for a second and figure this out. As it seems I've done that before, and I'll be right back. Okay, so what we have to do is have just a plain old ordinary function here to be the internal callback that's going to do this. And we are going to use the extended Gpio set-alert function EX, because what we're going to do is pass in a pointer to this object and when we subscribe to a particular pin. So I'll walk through this very carefully. What happens is the user calls the user class, or whatever we call the subscribe function, tell it what pin we want to subscribe to, and give it our lambda function that takes an int, which is the pin, the state, and a uint32t, which will be the number of ticks. Okay, so this function is going to look at subscriptions for a pin, and if that is equal to end, which means that it's fallen off the end, means there is no subscription yet to the pin, it's going to execute this portion here, which is going to go out to the Gpio set-alert function EX, pass in the pin, this internal callback function, which is not part of this class. It's a completely hidden. It's just buried in here. It's just a standard function, C-style function. Well, it's C++, but that doesn't matter. That's what we're going to pass in, is this internal callback, and then a pointer to this, so that when a pin changes state, it's going to call this function. It's going to pass the pin, the level it's at, 0 or 1, the number of ticks, which for some reason in the other one they used uint32t, and this one they're using an unsigned int. It doesn't matter for our purposes. It's still the same as a uint32t, but that's what they're using. And then we're going to pass this void pointer user data, which in this case is our pointer to our GPIO object. That's what we're passing in down here. That's what it's going to pass to each call. So we're going to do an old-fashioned cast, because we're going from a C library, which just knows about void pointers. So we have to do an old-fashioned cast, and we're going to cast this. And we're pretty sure it's always going to be there, because we're passing it in this, and it's going to pass it back. It should always be there, but we will probably want to do a check on this, and maybe do something if this pointer isn't correct. We're going to cast it to GPIO pointer, and then call our callback function, which is over here. We can go back to gpio.h. This is our callback function. It's going to call, and actually we can make this, no, we can't make it private because we're calling it from outside. But I put an underscore on it, meaning you probably shouldn't use it from any external class elsewhere. And there might be some ways to work around that a little bit. But yeah, it'll call this, and then it'll do what I already described. It'll call everything on the particular subscription and pass it through. So let's see if this builds. It should build. And it does. Oh, actually, I have to do that build up here, don't I? Build. Any errors? We got a bunch of warnings, but that's okay. No errors. So we go over here to main, and now we can subscribe to something. Of course, we're not going to see any changes happen unless I come over here and hook up a button to this, which we'll probably do in the next video. Let me see how much time we're sitting at now. We're sitting at 23 minutes. So yeah, I don't have time to hook up a button to the thing right now, but I'll show you how this would work, and we'll compile it and run it and show that it runs without errors. But we would do this. We would do something like GPIO pointer subscribe. Let's do pin 9. Well, let's set it to input mode. We'll subscribe to pin 9, and our function, we're going to do this. We'll just do it. This when we're doing lambdas, this is our capture list, and we can do a variety of things in here. For now, we're just not going to have any capture list. We don't need one. And then we've got to specify the input parameter types, which is going to be int, GPIO, state, and uint 32t, and then a function body, and that's a lambda. And I think we've done those before, and I'll explain what capture list is when we do this inside of a class. You can capture state and other stuff in a variety of different ways using this capture list, and then we could just do something like q debug. State change from, we should give these names, int, pin, state, and ticks. From pin, put in a space here, we'll go from state to, we didn't do a state to string, did we? So let's go do that real quick. Let's go back to gpio.h, go up here to the top. What do we got? State, yeah, we need this. Q string state to string GPIO state. And we'll go to here. This will be a quick one. We've got that. That's translate stuff. Let's go up here to our toString stuff. Here's our toString stuff. Just put this in, and this is not part of a class, it's just a function. We'll go switch state. This is an easy one. Case GPIO state ::on return return quote on. Case GPIO state off return off. And I don't know why that's a thing. This should be saving, but it's not. So we'll just do a build. And then we'll go back to missing terminating character. What? Oh. Okay. Do a build again. No, we got to do a build up here. Okay. Now we can go back to here, and we can go from state to string state from ticks. We'll do a build. Looks good. We'll go back to here. We'll run it, and of course nothing's going to happen because I don't have any way to change the state of that pin yet. We'll do that in the next video. I'll hook up a wire to a switch or a button or something, maybe a button, and we'll change the state, and we'll see it change out of here, and then we'll know our code is working. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.